everybody, welcome back to my channel, The Medieval Reader. My name is Fariba, and today I am starting a new series, Wisdom Wednesday. So today is Wednesday. This will be the first of a series of casual discussion videos about essays that I read, on any sort of essay. It doesn't even have to necessarily be an essay, it could be a podcast, just anything that has been written by historical figures, contemporary authors, and starting a discussion over the ideas that have been entertained by people throughout history. So today I am beginning with the father of the essay itself, Michel de Montaigne. I will link below an English version of the essay I will be discussing today. So I will spend 30 seconds summarizing the main points of the essay, and then I will just talk very casually about my observations, about things that I've noticed, and how that might apply to my life, my society, bigger questions that we are dealing with today. I'm hoping that we can really engage with the books that we read in the way that Montaigne tried to do in the 16th century. So Michel de Montaigne was a French humanist in the mid-16th century, and he is the father of the essay, as I mentioned. The essays for him were his plain thoughts about all the things he was reading. So he was reading widely, mostly the classics, but also his contemporaries, medieval writers, and he was thinking about what all of this meant for him. What are some observations in these people's writings that apply to his life and his particular circumstances? So likewise, when I make these videos, they will also be very casual. They will just point out one or two things that I noticed in the essay. So the essay I'm going to talk about today is called, in French, Par divers moyens, on arrive à pareille fin, which in English is by diverse means, we arrive at the same end. So this essay looks at the interaction between an oppressor and the oppressed, and how at times the oppressed can actually move to pity the oppressor, and then the oppressor will let up and free the oppressed. At times, however, the oppressor is so tyrannical that he's not at all influenced by the weeping, by the supplication of the oppressed, of his victim. And so Montaigne finds this interaction really interesting. And when I was reading him discussing different situations, I was struck by how theatrical societal behavior actually is. So Montaigne never really makes a judgment about these tyrants or the oppressed, except to say that showing emotion often is associated with weakness. And here he cites women, children, it's seen as feminine, and so that's negative. Of course, the misogyny here is really clear. But somehow it's not weakness if the tyrant actually allows the oppressed to move him to pity. Then that's just him being natural, and that is him being humane, and that's a really good thing. So in general, it seems that the burden is on the oppressed. If the oppressed is actually successful in converting the tyrant through his pleas for mercy, then that's seen as strength. However, if he's not successful, then that's seen as weakness. So perhaps it's better for the oppressed to actually just take it and to not show emotion, to try to be stoic in their response to suffering, because then the victim wins in a way, because the victim showed control over himself. But again, it's this game, and it's always the oppressed who have to decide the outcome, and it's an outcome that they can't know in advance, right? They can't know how the tyrant is going to respond. I was struck by how unnatural societal interactions really are, because it's natural for people to be moved to pity. It's natural for people to show that they're suffering. And I think that perhaps this game is one of the major reasons why social injustices continue to exist. The oppressed feel that they will not be successful, and if they revolt, they are ridiculed. It's only if they're actually successful in winning freedom then people actually support their attempts at liberation. And if they're not, then they're seen as whining, they're seen as complaining. I see this in the way that we react to Black Lives Matter, for example. A lot of people say, well, they're complaining, they're, things can't get better, they should just take it, it's strength, they should stop whining. But whenever Black people have any kind of victory, suddenly it's like, oh, well, that was wonderful. They, Martin Luther King Jr. with his nonviolence, he was able to move hearts and, yay, good job, oppressed. But it's only if he is successful, because the burden is always on the oppressed. The burden is not on the tyrant, as it should be. It's not the tyrant who is required at all to show mercy. If he doesn't, he wins because he doesn't show mercy. I just think that this game is really interesting, and I find Montaigne's observations to be particularly relevant today as we think about totalitarianism in its many forms in the world. So those are just sort of my brief, somewhat scattered thoughts about this essay. Let me know what you think, and I will come back to you next Wednesday with another Wisdom Wednesday. Probably I will stick with Montaigne for a while. I might do something different. I will certainly try to address the essays or podcasts by people who are not dead white men. I really would like to focus on people who are still living, women, people of color, etc. But I thought I would start with Montaigne today, since Montaigne is the father of the essay. I find it really interesting that for Montaigne, the essay is where you can actually be honest, where you can share your raw reactions to a particular work, to the works that you're reading, to anything that's going on in the world, and it's not edited, it's not formal. He can come back later and modify it. That's really not how we think about essays today. Today, essays are very formal, right? We publish them in scholarly journals, we publish them in books, but they have to be edited, they have to be clear, there has to be a clear thesis statement. Montaigne rambles on and on. I think if you were to write in his style today and try to submit it to your professor, you would not be able to get away with it. You would definitely fail. So I find this really interesting that the essay has become such a formal thing. But I think that what we do on BookTube is generally informal, and I'm hoping that we can be able to talk about these larger questions in an informal manner, like Montaigne. So that's all for now. I have a few reviews coming up, and I hope you have a good day. Bye now.